As part of my autism, I also get chronic pain and shutdowns of my capabilities. This means that I often lose the ability to do work or cope with school life. This means that I often hid in the toilets teachers would say I would run away, but I didn't really. I was just hiding and trying to rest in sensory-friendly surroundings, usually in places that were safe or familiar, such as the school toilets or the library, or maybe just out in the playing fields. I was never far, I was always somewhere familiar, but I just had to escape the mayhem of the school day. And sometimes that was intentional, and other times I would be so overwhelmed and overloaded that I wouldn't realise that I was actually skiving and actually missing classes. So there's that side of it, the physically being unable to make the connection that I was missing class, but then there's also the side of it that my autism shutdowns mean that even before I can get to school, I would be in so much pain and I would be completely unable to process information that my parents would realise that it was almost a safety issue to take me into school and expect me to go into school. So they would allow me to have days off to rest and recuperate those abilities that I'd lost during the week. And I'm very lucky that they took the issue to my doctor, and my doctor understood that in order for me to actually work and learn and focus and do things to the best of my abilities during the week, my doctor and my parents understood that I needed time out to rest and recuperate my abilities too. So my doctor actually prescribed me every Friday off of school so that I could rest and have therapy days and counselling and just recuperate those lost abilities. I am certain that being allowed this necessary time off school to rest my brain are one of the main reasons I got good grades and didn't have a complete breakdown of abilities. It's thanks to these Fridays off that I was enabled. This was every Friday, and sometimes during the week as well, I would have to have days of school from being just so ill from the shutdowns of my abilities. And I got a poor attendance and I was judged to be lazy or not trying hard enough. I got letters from the school who didn't understand, and I got in a lot of trouble for it. Missing work and missing homework. But there was nothing I could do about it. I had no choice but to rest. It was for the best at school, that's for sure. Without it, I would have failed everything and I would have been unhappy too. Thankfully, I was able to rest and therefore able to do everything to the best of my abilities. I always did my best to be a role model student, but I wasn't always capable due to my shutdowns and my chronic pain. I didn't always have a choice and behave in the way that I was supposed to, following the rules, but I wasn't always capable due to my shutdowns of my abilities and my chronic pain. I couldn't cope, and if I couldn't cope, then I had no choice but to leave and find sensory-friendly surroundings so that I could cope, so that I wouldn't find myself in danger, because the more my capabilities disappear, the more likely I am to lose the ability to keep myself safe. And I always tried to do the right thing and be a good student and follow the rules, and it felt so wrong, but I didn't have a choice. It upsets me to this day, the judgments that I got. Teachers really don't understand. When it comes to attendance, it's either the neurotypical way or no way at all. So this little example is Enterprise Day when I was 13 years old at school. One time, my entire class had been split up with no warning to participate in an enterprise day of group activities. It was a day of chaos that, despite being diagnosed, I still received no support. In simple terms, my entire school day of routines was disrupted with no transition or effort to help make the enterprise day accessible to me as an autistic person. So I walked into school one morning and I was expected to go and work in a part of a school I had never been to, in a classroom I had not been in, and work in a group setting with people I'd never met and teachers I didn't know, with no one who knew about my disability or how to help me. The overloads and shutdowns and executive function meant that I couldn't understand my work, and I spent the whole time masking, smiling and nodding, while in so much agony from the change in routine that I couldn't make basic connections. I was so overwhelmed from the change in routine that I had no idea if and when I was being spoken to. At the end of the lesson, we were told that we were presenting our work to the rest of the school. The panic started then, the confusion, the overload, the heart-thumping fear rocking within me with pain. I panicked, the pain excruciating as the school lunch bell rang. I stumbled out of the classroom, desperate to get out of the school, away from the chaos, the madness of all the students rushing around me. And I went into the playing fields outside, and I sat on the floor, hidden by a bush. I had initially just hid there to get some sensory-friendly respite, but I had stayed there for 3 hours because I was so overloaded that I just couldn't move. Not wouldn't. I was having a shutdown of my mental, physical and emotional abilities. I was in too much pain that my legs had gone weak and I couldn't stand up. I heard the bell go off and saw through dizziness and blurred vision that students were going to class now that lunch had finished. But I was too overloaded to process all of that chaotic information and cope with the horridly unjustified change in routine that I just couldn't make the connection that lesson was about to start and that I had to move. Eventually my mother had been called to try and find me, while all of the teachers were searching the nearby streets and parks. My mum knew me and my autism. She found me hiding in the bush, knowing that with all of the chaos and change, there was only 3 places I would be, all of which were safe and familiar to me: the library, the toilets, or the playing fields. She knew that I would never change my routine, even more by going somewhere different to my usual routine. But this is something my teachers didn't understand. Because they didn't understand the root of the problem of me not being in class, they didn't understand where I was, and therefore I got in trouble. So yeah, Mum found me, peeping over the edge of the bushes like a little meerkat, terrified, in pain and so upset. My capabilities to even realise that I should be in class had vanished. I was too overloaded. This happened frequently. Overloads and pain shut down would see me running into the toilets and staying there, unable to realise that I need to leave. Teachers and medical professionals would say I was exaggerating, faking, attention seeking, refusing to work, skiving, and that my shutdowns weren't possible. In their eyes, it was always something I was doing wrong. They never understood the reasons behind the behaviour, that it was unintentional skiving. It's something that I could not control. And the same happens during class when I'm unable to escape. It appears like I refuse to do work because I just sit there and not do anything, but actually I just haven't got the capabilities to work at that moment. And that's due to the learning environment, and it's not my fault. I wish teachers understood that. School was rife with unintentional gaslighting. My mainstream schools were a minefield of chaos and misunderstandings. In mainstream primary school, I have memories of wandering around and not understanding what lesson I was in, where I was, or what was happening next. I couldn't understand any instructions and I took everything literally, and I got in trouble a lot, even though I was always trying to be good. At mainstream secondary school, teachers misunderstood me and I got in trouble frequently for things that were so beyond my control. I had poor executive function, which meant I could not process information to make connections of what I had to do during class. I couldn't do classwork, homework, or participate in group activities. Nothing made sense, and the learning environments were awful, so that I couldn't process the information I needed anyway to help me.